You could take another sip, another sip, another sip, another sip. Yeah. I only take a little bit, little bit, little bit.
Hi, my name is Shanari. I go by Ginger Snaps. You can follow me at Dose of Ginger Snaps on Instagram, also on Facebook. So I'm just here to talk to you about delegation. So when I was in nursing school, the word delegation or delegating, I was like, oh no, I'm not doing it. That sounds like it's just too much. The responsibility of it, I'd rather just do it all on my own, because if it all comes crashing down, it's going to come crashing down because I made it crash down. But now in my new career field as a school nurse, my nursing manager reached out to me and was like, hey, you might want to think about delegating some of these tasks, because if you were to call out or something were to happen, you may not, a nurse may not come to service your school. My boo just text me. So I am filming on my iPhone right now. So how you gonna text me? Hi. So I'm in the middle of filming. All right, back to where I was at. So because my school is kind of small, and I basically have PRN medications. Everyone has a chronic condition. Um, so she was just saying that they probably will not send a nurse out. So I'm like, okay. And she was like, and you have easy stuff, so you can delegate. And I'm like, okay. So before I do anything, I always like to get as much information as possible. So I did some research, okay, to my notes, right? Because I need my notes. Right, so there is a difference between delegating and an assignment, okay? So an assignment is your routine care, your activities, your procedures that are within your scope and practice as, in my case, as the nurse, okay? These are things that you were actually taught in your program. So if you're an LPN, when you went through your program to receive your LPN, anything that you learned, that is within your scope. Okay. For me, I'm an RN, so anything that I learned within my RN program, that is within my scope. So that is my assignment. Like, I'm supposed to carry this out. When you're delegating, you're you may be delegating a specific nursing activity, a skill, a procedure that is outside of that person's traditional role. Okay. So the nurse that's delegating, they're still responsible for that assignment. They're responsible for the follow through and what happens after they complete that task. So as a nurse, you have to know from the beginning to the very end. So just because you delegated that assignment or that task to someone else doesn't mean like, oh, I'm done, like I delegated it. No, because if something happens, whether it's positive or negative, you as the nurse is still at fault, as well as the person you delegated to, because they're supposed to follow certain guidelines as well. Okay. Right. So if you're delegating medication or anything requiring a significant level of skill, you need to check for competency and validation. And when deciding on whether or not you should delegate something, You want to follow the 5 rights of delegation. And some journals that I pulled up for this just to kind of help you out is this one is the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. Um, and this is the Joint Statement on Delegation. Okay, and so on here they have the 5 rights of delegation to be sure that the delegation or assignment is the right task, under the right circumstances, to the right person, with the right directions and communication, and under the right supervision and evaluation. And then you're accountable for establishing systems to assess, monitor, verify, and communicate ongoing competence requirements in areas related to the delegation. So you are responsible at the beginning of the delegation all the way to the end. Okay. Then another journal you can read, this is under Continuing Education, National Guidelines for Nursing Delegation. Journal of Nursing Regulation.com. So for me, I'm going to be delegating PRN medications, so inhalers, EpiPens, and I have maybe about 2 students that take oral medication um, as needed as well. So that is what I'm going to be delegating to a couple of people in my elementary school. I've already had a conversation with them, asking them, how do you feel if I teach you how to do X, Y, and Z? And they were thrilled about doing it. They even told me that when the nurse is not there, because this is my first year at this particular school, when the nurse is not there, they actually get paid extra to take on the role as the nurse. So I'm like, well, great. Now at least you'll know exactly what to do when I'm not there. Um, so for the inhalers, I went to cdc.gov. They do have a video that you can show about how to administer the medication. They also have a video showing you how to do it with a spacer if your student has a spacer. I also have like little charts that I printed out that has step by step how to administer the medication. And I actually have this area in my office where it says, are you using your inhaler correctly? And I have that picture posted so they know what to look, so they know what to do when they're doing that treatment. And it also helps for the students too, to make them a little bit more active in their medication or treatment plan. And so then after I show them that, I do want them to get a better understanding of how medication is administered. So I'll go through all the steps to administering medication, how to document and how to chart. Each student has an emergency care plan. So in that care plan, it'll tell them exactly what to do. And if they don't see X, Y, and Z happening after you administer the medication, then the next step is to dial out 911 or call my nurse manager, which is the health office, and you call them, or usually you call both. You'll call them and 911 depending on the situation. And then going back to this journal where it says establishing systems to assess and monitor. So I have kind of been toying with the idea of creating a checklist of what to do while administering the medication, and just having them maybe check off or initial, and then in the MAR, of course, they'll have to sign that they administer the medication. That way, when I come back and revisit, I can look at everything that they did and be able to chart under that medication was administered by the delegating or whatever. However, I decide to kind of word that information, just because I don't want the little things to get missed. Like, hey, did you check to make sure that this was the right person that you're administering the medication to? Is the medication expired? Just little things like that. And it looks like you have that autonomy and ability to create your own system just to ensure that your student is safe when the nurse is not there. Okay. So I hope that this will encourage you to let go of some of the control that you might have with feeling like you have to do everything on your own. A lot of things you can delegate to other people. So stay strong and be safe out here.
You could take another sip, another sip, another sip, another sip. Yeah. I only take a little bit, little bit, little bit.